You didn't want to be strong by accident. Something planted that idea in your head. Something made you believe that training mattered, that discipline counted, that pushing yourself would actually change who you were. And if you're being honest, it probably wasn't a coach or a parent who first showed you what real strength looked like. It was a cartoon. Before you ever touched a weight, before you understood what a gym was for, you watched animated characters push through pain, train in impossible conditions, and transform their bodies through sheer will. These weren't just entertaining shows. They were blueprints. They taught you that strength wasn't given. It was earned. That getting stronger required suffering, repetition, and commitment. That the body could become something more if you demanded it. This video covers 10 cartoons that made entire generations want to be strong. Not vaguely inspired, actually motivated. These are the shows that made kids do push-ups in their bedrooms, shadow box in the mirror, and believe that transformation was possible. Some taught you about raw power. Others showed you discipline and control. A few made you understand that strength wasn't always about size. It was about will. From classic anime training inspiration to Western heroes who never quit, these cartoons shaped how millions of people thought about their own potential. And chances are, at least one of them shaped you too. Let's get into it. Dragon Ball Z, 1989 to 1996. No cartoon made more people want to train than Dragon Ball Z. This was a show that turned strength into an obsession. Airing from 1989 to 1996, it introduced Western audiences to a completely different idea of what getting stronger could look like. And it hit hard. Goku wasn't just strong. He was constantly getting stronger. Every arc pushed him past his limits. Every villain was more powerful than the last. And the answer was always the same: train harder. The gravity chamber scenes alone rewired how an entire generation thought about effort. Watching Goku struggle under 100 times Earth's gravity, barely able to stand, then mastering it. That was a lesson in progression that stuck. But the real hook was transformation. Super Saiyan wasn't just a power boost. It was proof that if you pushed hard enough, long enough, your body would change. You'd become something new. That idea that effort could unlock a higher version of yourself became foundational for anyone who later stepped into a gym. Dragon Ball Z didn't just entertain. It installed a training philosophy. Work harder than everyone else. Push past failure. Break your limits. The strength inspiration from this show wasn't subtle. It was the entire point. And it primed millions of viewers to chase their own version of that transformation. Fist of the North Star, 1984 to 1988. If Dragon Ball Z made you want to train, Fist of the North Star made you want to already be dangerous. This anime, running from 1984 to 1988, presented strength not as a journey, but as a state of being. Kenshiro didn't struggle to get powerful. He simply was powerful. And that kind of quiet, absolute dominance hit differently. Set in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. The show featured protagonists who had already mastered Hokuto Shinken, a martial art so lethal that opponents didn't even know they were dead until seconds later. Kenshiro didn't need transformations or dramatic power-ups. His strength came from complete mastery, from discipline so deep it became instinct. What made viewers want to be strong here wasn't the dream of becoming powerful. It was the image of already being the most dangerous person in any room. Kenshiro's calm, stoic demeanor in the face of chaos taught a different kind of strength, one rooted in control, precision, and an unshakable inner code. This was old-school anime motivation, at its most brutal and composed. It showed that true strength wasn't loud. It was silent, efficient, and final. For anyone who watched it, the takeaway was clear. Real power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, 1983 to 1985. He-Man gave an entire generation the most direct strength fantasy imaginable. Say the words, raise your sword, and become the most powerful man in the universe. Running from 1983 to 1985, this cartoon didn't complicate things. It delivered a pure transformation myth, and kids absorbed it completely. Prince Adam was an average-looking royal, but when he held aloft his magic sword and declared by the power of Grayskull, he became a man, a massively muscular warrior capable of incredible feats. The transformation was instant, the physique was exaggerated, and the message was simple. Inside you is something far stronger than what people see. This wasn't about training montages or earned power. It was about potential already existing within you, waiting to be unleashed. That idea resonated deeply. Kids flexed in mirrors, lifted whatever they could find, and imagined their own transformations. He-Man also emphasized using strength for protection, not domination. Every episode reinforced that power came with responsibility. You got strong to defend others. That moral dimension added weight to the fantasy. It wasn't just about having big muscles. It was about what you did with them. For cartoons that made kids want to be strong, He-Man wrote the original playbook. Simple, bold, and unforgettable. Baki the Grappler, 1994 OVA/2001 manga era influence. Baki the Grappler took the idea of training and made it an obsession, originating with a 1994 OVA and gaining wider influence through its manga and later adaptations. This series was about one thing: become the strongest creature on Earth. Not a hero, not a defender, just the absolute peak of physical combat. Baki Hanma trained constantly, not in gyms with equipment. In conditions designed to break him, he fought imaginary opponents so vividly that his body reacted as if the battles were real. He studied every martial art. He pushed his physiology past human limits, and driving all of it was one goal: surpassing his father, the strongest man alive. This wasn't gentle motivation. Baki showed that elite strength required sacrifice most people wouldn't make. Sleep, comfort, safety, all secondary to improvement. The training sequences were extreme, detailed, and obsessive. They made viewers understand that getting truly strong meant organizing your entire life around it. What separated Baki from other strength inspiration cartoons was its lack of shortcuts. No transformations, no magic, just relentless work and an almost pathological commitment to improvement. For anyone who watched it, the message was clear. If you want to be strong, you have to want it more than anything else. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 1987 to 1996. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles made martial arts training look like the most fun thing in the world. Airing from 1987 to 1996, this cartoon took 4 mutated turtles, gave them a wise sensei, and showed kids that discipline could come with personality, pizza, and brotherhood. Splinter trained Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, and Michelangelo in ninjutsu, not just combat moves, but philosophy. They practiced in the sewers. They sparred constantly. They learned that skill came from repetition, and that working together multiplied what they could do alone. Each turtle had a distinct weapon and fighting style, making it clear that strength wasn't one size fits all. The show made training aspirational without making it intimidating. Kids who watched didn't just want to fight. They wanted to practice. They wanted a dojo, a master, and friend to train with. Martial arts enrollment spiked during the show's peak years, and that wasn't coincidence. What TMNE taught about strength was different from raw power fantasies. It emphasized teamwork, practice, and learning from someone wiser. It showed that getting strong was a process, and that the process itself could be enjoyable. For classic anime and cartoon training inspiration, few shows made the journey look as appealing. Yu Yu Hakusho, 1992 to 1995. Yu Yu Hakusho made strength feel earned in a way few cartoons matched. Running from 1992 to 1995, this anime followed Yusuke Urameshi, a teenage delinquent who died, came back to life, and slowly became one of the most powerful fighters in existence. But nothing came easy. Yusuke started weak. His early fights were sloppy and desperate. He won through stubbornness more than skill. But over time, through brutal training arcs and increasingly dangerous tournaments, he grew. The Dark Tournament saga alone showed dozens of episodes of grinding improvement, learning new techniques, pushing through injuries, and refusing to stay down. What made Yu Yu Hakusho powerful as strength inspiration was his honesty about struggle. Yusuke wasn't a natural prodigy. He got beaten badly. He doubted himself. But he kept fighting anyway. That resilience, that refusal to quit no matter how outmatched he seemed, resonated deeply with viewers who felt like underdogs themselves. The show also featured incredible supporting characters with their own training journeys. Kuwabara's determination, Hai's discipline, Kurama's tactical mind, all reinforced that there were different paths to power. Yu Yu Hakusho taught that strength wasn't about where you started. It was about how much you were willing to endure to improve. Batman, the animated series, 1992 to 1995. Batman. The animated series showed that the most dangerous person in any room didn't need superpowers. Running from 1992 to 1995, this show presented Bruce Wayne as the ultimate example of human potential pushed to its limit through discipline alone. Batman trained constantly. He studied forensics, mastered dozens of martial arts, pushed his body through grueling physical conditioning, and sharpened his mind until it became his greatest weapon. He stood beside gods and aliens with nothing but preparation and will, and he held his own. What made this show so influential for strength inspiration was its realism. Batman's power wasn't mystical or genetic. It was built. Every skill he demonstrated was theoretically achievable through dedication. That made him aspirational in a way that superpowered heroes couldn't match. If Bruce Wayne could become Batman through training, what was stopping you? The animated series emphasized this constantly. Training sequences, gadget preparation, physical recovery, all shown as essential parts of who Batman was. The message was clear. Strength without powers required more work, not less. It required total commitment. For viewers who couldn't relate to alien transformations or magical swords, Batman offered something grounded. Human excellence, achieved through effort. That idea motivated people long after credits rolled. Street Fighter II, the animated series, 1995. Street Fighter II, the animated series turned fighting into personal identity. Airing in 1995, this cartoon brought the legendary video game's roster to life and showed that every fighter's strength came from somewhere specific. Their training, their style, their reason for fighting. Ryu's endless pursuit of the perfect technique. Ken's competitive fire. Guile's military discipline. Chun-Li's justice-driven determination. Each character embodied a different philosophy of strength, and the show explored what drove them. These weren't generic warriors. They were individuals with unique paths to power. What made this show effective as old-school anime workout motivation was its emphasis on specialization. You didn't have to be strong in every way. You had to find your style and master it. Ryu's focus on Hadouken wasn't weakness. It was identity. That idea freed viewers to think about their own strengths rather than trying to copy someone else's. The competitive aspect also mattered. Street Fighter presented strength as something tested in direct combat. Training meant nothing if you couldn't prove it. That pressure performed, to actually demonstrate your power against a real opponent, added urgency to the inspiration. For anyone who played the games and then watched the series, the motivation doubled. Strength became something you wanted to embody, not just watch. Popeye the Sailor, 1930s, 1960 STV era. Popeye taught the simplest strength lesson in animation history. Eat right, get strong. Spanning from the 1930s to the 1960s television era, this cartoon delivered a cause and effect message so clear that it changed how generations thought about nutrition and power. The formula never changed. Popeye faced a problem he couldn't handle. Bluto was bigger, stronger, meaner. Things looked bad. Then Popeye ate his spinach. His muscles exploded, and he won. Every single time. That consistency wasn't repetitive. It was reinforcement. The message sank deep. What you put in your body directly affects what your body can do. Spinach sales reportedly increased during Popeye's peak popularity. Kids who hated vegetables suddenly wanted them. That's cultural impact you can measure. The cartoon literally changed eating habits by linking nutrition to strength in the most direct way possible. But Popeye also showed something else. You could be small and still be the toughest person around. He wasn't built like Bluto. He was wiry, weathered, and unimpressive until he activated. That underdog element made his transformations even more satisfying. For pure, uncomplicated strength inspiration, Popeye remains unmatched. Eat the right thing. Become unstoppable. Simple enough for a child to understand. Powerful enough to last a lifetime. Conan the Adventurer, 1992 to 1993. Conan the Adventurer brought warrior strength to Saturday mornings. Running from 1992 to 1993, this animated adaptation of Robert E. Howard's legendary barbarian showed kids what it meant to carry strength as a birthright and a responsibility. Conan was raised in Samaria, a harsh land that produced hard people. Strength wasn't optional there. It was survival. The show depicted Conan as already formidable, muscular, skilled with weapons and fearless in combat. But it also showed that his power came from his upbringing, his people, and his refusal to be conquered. What made Conan effective as strength inspiration was its primal quality. This wasn't about techniques or training montages. It was about being forged by difficult circumstances. Conan's strength felt ancestral, earned through generations of hardship that gave it weight. The show also emphasized freedom. Conan fought against anyone who tried to dominate or enslave. His strength served as independence. For young viewers, that connection between power and personal freedom was compelling. Getting strong meant no one could control you. Conan the Adventurer closed an era of cartoons that made physical strength aspirational. It reminded viewers that before gyms and programs, strength came from necessity, and that primal connection still resonated. These 10 cartoons spanned decades, countries, and animation styles, but they all did the same thing. They made strength look worth pursuing, not through lectures or motivational speeches, through showing what strength looked like in action, over and over, until it became something viewers wanted for themselves. The transformation sequences in Dragon Ball Z, the disciplined mastery of Kenshiro, Batman's human excellence, Popeye's simple formula. Each show offered a different path to the same destination, becoming more capable than you were before. What made these cartoons that inspired strength so effective wasn't any single moment. It was repetition. Episode after episode of characters training, fighting, improving, and refusing to quit. That consistency built belief. If you watched enough, you started thinking maybe you could do it too. These shows didn't just entertain a generation. They programmed it. They installed the idea that your body could change, that effort mattered, that discipline paid off. And for millions of people, that programming never went away. The weights in your gym might be modern, but the reason you're there probably isn't. Somewhere in your past, a cartoon showed you what strength could look like, and you've been chasing it ever since.